Pezza, I want to give you some Ashes in my lifetime, just the Ashes series that I remember in my lifetime. So I was born in 86, so I don't really remember 89. I remember 93, Warne, Gadding Ball, 97, more of the same. No one can get Steve Waugh out forever. 2001, just good times will roll on forever. 2005 comes around, and I'm like, well, Australia's still going to win this on the last day, no issues. 2009, yeah, pretty good team. Australia scores like 10 hundreds to England's 2. All the leading wicket takers, Australia still lose that series. 13, it was 3-0. There was a 15 series as well, wasn't there? Wasn't even close. 2019, Australia were really close and then just took the gas and just partied. And then 2023 comes round, and I'm thinking, I reckon we missed out, but now we've got ourselves an opportunity to win the Ashes. Now, in 4 years' time, Australia won't win in England. Australia's team will be so different. Nathan Lyon might be there, but Stark, Hazelwood won't be there. Warner, Khawaja, Smith won't be there. Marsh won't be there. It'll be a completely different team in 4 years' time. Very unlikely that Australia's going to win. Now I'm looking at a situation where it is a straight shootout to get my last away Ashes victory in my lifetime. This is the last chance.
Wow.
This is the last chance. It's the last dance. And I'm looking at a straight shootout. And once again, Pezza, in this Ashes series, I'm in fucking bits. And I hate it. I hate it. Until someone does something good to make me feel happy in Melbourne for 10 minutes. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm concerned that you can't see past the next Ashes for your life, and whether or not we need to discuss that, because I'm, my friend, a lot of people care about you. So there is that small matter, but otherwise, yes, it was another day of opportunity for one team, probably this time Australia. Day 2, oval wicket. I thought it would be flat, as it normally is. Didn't seem that way. It didn't really materialise. And we just had another day of, ass-clenching, back-and-forth, pendulum swinging shit. Going into the third session, Australia was almost gone from the series, from this game. And the series, in terms of how Australia and the Australian public will be thinking about it. But Cummo, Mad Dog Murphy, Steve Smith got us out of a jam. And now it's just like, shootout stuff. Day 3, oval, England will bat, cloudy, overheads, and then Australia will bat last without Moeen Ali. And it's like, heaps of shit can happen now.
And as we know, England are really bad at shootouts until they beat Colombia, I think it was. And that's actually a different sport now I think about it. This episode is brought to you by Budgy Smuggler. Use the code goodareas at budgysmuggler.com. Give me the first of today's 3 things, Pezza.
Well, it's almost session by session. Here he goes. I'll start with the glacial start of the Australian cricket team. So just throwing a few numbers at you. For me, yeah, absolutely, because I understood it. 1 for 54, Australia, in this session. Marnus and Khawaja, for the most part, eating up deliveries, not really scoring many runs. Marnus finishes with 9 runs from 82 balls. Joe Root takes an absolute fucking sensational grab. Catch of the series. Yeah. One of the best catches I've seen for a very, very long time. I want to know how it felt in his mitts. It looked to me like one that would have felt like divinity in the mitts. And does he have nits? But 9 from 82 for Marnus. That obviously set the online discourse absolutely on a ball tear. I'm reading stuff about it. It was un-Australian. It was nice. It was the most. I saw Bazball versus Ball, one of the greatest pieces of literary prose I've ever come across. It was the slowest strike rate in England in any inning since 1994 at 11. And I suppose one was thinking, if Australia manages to blunt England here somehow, very old-fashioned idea, then, the fruits of their labour will spawn forth in sections 2 and 3. Not really. And it was a curious one. I thought England bowled really well. and once again, they had the ball moving in the air, off the straight. But by the same token, did Australia invite that in with their inability or unwillingness to be proactive? Did they bat themselves into a hole? Did they live their lives in a hole? I'm not really sure.
Yep.
And then, for Marnus's dismissal, it emerges later that, now some weird shit started to happen, like Stuart Broad swapped the bails over. Marnus likes to touch the bails, so Stuart Broad swapped the bails over. Then Marnus laughs and then gets out the next ball, and I'm just thinking, what am I doing with my life? What fucking game is this? Why is Marnus touching the bails? What's that? And then Broad's like, I'm going to swap them over. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know. It's kind of like that's looking out a window and Simon and Garfunkel's "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend" playing. Like, what's his career? What's the game?
I saw Stuart Broad tweet this morning, our time, saying that he has heard that it's a Australian. Like it's like a stroke of luck. It's like a sign. It's not a tradition. It's like a lucky thing that they change the bails. They switch the bails over. But he's like, I've never actually heard it confirmed. Can someone confirm that?
He's good.
I don't know. All I know is that all I know is that he's good, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he knows what he's doing.
He's doing something. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, but it's whatever it is. It's on a higher comedic plane than anything I can understand as an Australian.
I just want to talk about Joe Root's catch, because that is one of the best catches I've seen in the last few years, really. Because because of the IPL, you see so many great catches, like what Ben Stokes took at the end of the day's play when he caught Cummins down at long on, catching the ball, throwing it up in the air, jumping over the rope, and then jumping on the other side of the rope, and then catching it again. High skill. We've seen variations of that type of dismissal, but like the purity of slips catching. Steve Smith almost took a fucking screamer in the first innings off Crawley. Was Mitch Marsh bowling? No, Cummins. One of them. One of the Australian guys was bowling. Steve Smith always gets fucking parallel to the ground. Almost took that one. But then Joe Root's catch last night for a first slipper to be going to their left when a right-hander is on strike, to catch it nearly behind the wicketkeeper.
Non-dominant hand.
Is just like... Non-dominant hand as well. That non-dominant hand is highly underrated.
Exactly.
Like that level of skill. It goes straight in the mitt. He swallows it up like a tic-tac. It looked fucking amazing. I could almost feel it in the palm of my hand, except I've got August hands, so like it would actually sting me. How perfectly it went in the mitt. The catch, I sort of why do I want to do this? That's Bairstow's catch. Bairstow has probably already cost England the series. If Folkes is wicket-keeping in the series, England would have won the series. The run-out happens later where he dislodges the bail. Look, that's one that might have gone either way. Alex Carey made a similar mistake in the last Test match when running out Ben Stokes, where he hit the gloves. The gloves hit the stumps beforehand and he dropped the ball. It wasn't exactly the same, but it's similar. Bairstow's got away with that massively. And I say that because whilst it is an excellent catch from Joe Root, and he is a top player. That's the wicketkeeper's catch every single day of the week, and his footwork is absolutely nowhere. He's nowhere near getting close to that. And Joe Root spares the blushes. And I don't know if Marnus was going anywhere at that innings, other than just boring us to death. It was un-Australian, which is lucky because in those moments he is South African. But when he scores runs at the SCG, true blue. But fuck me, that was a good catch. It was an absolute scream. One of the best catches I've seen in the last few years was my point.
1 for 54 for the session. Australia score a couple of runs at the end. You think, okay, well, they've built some foundation or other. I don't know, other cliches that we talk about in cricket pre-Bazball. And then England comes out after lunch. Stokes says, Broady, you can do the business. And that's exactly what Broady does. So on to the second thing. He goes, Broad again. Just opens the game up. What else can you say? He's among... He's in the conversation for player of the series at the moment. I mean, I think there's certain actions or performances that might decide who's player of the series. I think there's a few players who could snatch it depending on what happens in this game. But Australia's got a pretty good situation. The sun's starting to peek through at the Oval, but they must have adjudged the deck to be doing stuff, because not only does he get Khawaja, who when he does get out that way, looks stuck on the crease, but that's his method, Khawaja. He does sit back. Broad has it going both ways, and the Aussies are clearly uncomfortable with it. But then Travis Head comes in. Head, the previous delivery hits a boundary, and then nicks off. And at that point, you realise that the batting must be difficult because basically England have been allergic to bowling one in Head's half after the first game, and everything was just full. So they knew it was moving around deluxe, and sure enough, Head nicks off, and Australia is in bother. Mitch Marsh comes out and plays his typically proactive innings at one point when England are all over Australia like a rash, shingles in this case. And Marsh just bombs Broad out of nowhere for one of the most towering sixes he's ever seen. And Australia start to make some moves. And it was interesting observing Smith and Marsh's innings in comparison to Marnus and Khawaja's. It was kind of that opportunity to provide a contrast between what happens when you exert a little bit of pressure back on bowlers, and as we've seen with England doing this at an extreme level, it is more difficult to, or it does pose questions for bowlers and stops them settling into a rhythm, particularly in English conditions, if you are trying to force the issue fractionally. Anyway, nevertheless, the wickets just kind of kept on tumbling, really, to the point where. And Carey comes in. Carey comes and goes. He hits a great cover drive. He hits a 6, and then he cross bats a slapped cover drive to short cover. He cross bats something to short cover. It was a dreadful shot to Joe Root. It was a dreadful shot that put Australia in enormous trouble at 190 for 7 at that point. I'm thinking he goes and
yep.
Like that, and at that point, given Australia's usually mediocre returns with the tail, apart from when Cummins wants to win a game for us, Australia's in like tremendous trouble. That's 90 in arrears, 98 in arrears, and with England to bat again on possibly late day 2, day 3 over wicket, and I think unless the tail wags, we're probably talking about how Alex Carey has regressed from the series with the bat, and it has to be said, it's since his disgraceful stumping of Bairstow that must have got into his head.
And it's gotten even worse since he had a haircut. Because it was going well when he hadn't had a haircut, and then he got a haircut, and then it's got bad since then. Stuart Broad, before the series, Pez, you and I were talking, just go back to Broad. You and I were talking about, like, Broad, he's probably not in the best 4 bowlers that England have on the park. And then he has just been, as you say, he's right in that conversation for play of the series. He's now the leading wicket taker for the series. Stark is 1 wicket behind him. Stark played 1 less game. But Broad has just been consistently the guy you throw the ball to. He is just so good against Australia's left-handers. Obviously, great record against Warner. But he's picked up Khawaja in a couple of games in a row now in big moments. Gets Travis Head. That seemed like a fairly big wicket last night, though. Actually, every single one of England's wickets and about 8 of Australia's wickets seems like a big wicket. But Broad has just been so consistent, unerring, relentless vibes, funny stuff on the internet. It's pretty good. Just on Carey, that shot was fucking dreadful. And I've just noticed that since the Delhi Test match in India, he's put away the reverse sweep, and that was such a strong shot for him against spin. And he put it away because he was playing against Jadeja and Ashwin on absolute raggers. And I think that he can bring that back out against Joe Root. And I would like to see, like, that cover drive that he plays yesterday, he is reverse sweeping the shit out of that 9 times out of 10, 6 months ago. He got out a couple of times to Jadeja, reverse sweeping, and then he put it away, and then he found a new method. I would like to see him bring it back out for the Oval and Australia. I mean, it's such a strong shot of his, and he has regressed in the series. I don't think he's got above 21. I think he's hit 21 3 or 4 times, which is a bit of an anomaly. But Australia's going to need him because it's going to be a straight shootout, and you know that Australia's going to be chasing between 290 and 360, and no one wins that 4 down. Carey will bat. And they need Carey to hit 45 And then I'm now just trying to predict.
Yeah, Root will be
entire
round the
game.
wicket, and so a couple of the balls are sort of outside his off stump, and that's when the reverse needs to come. And in the Ian Healy sort of stylings, if they've got two men there, then he needs to go over there.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah. Just some wiser decisions.
Yeah, just some wiser decisions.
As the great man said. I don't know. But yeah, I guess the point is Broad, once again, pick of the bowlers, and Jimmy Anderson's last ever test match. Huge.
All the while, Steve Smith looked $1 million to me. Steve Smith batted as though the pitch was pretty good. Steve Smith's innings to me looked like it was one of those innings where, I don't know about you, but I was like, all of his matrix angles are sorted out. All of his lines are good. Everything, all the straight lines that are in his head are in symmetry. And we'll get it to the run out in a second, but then he plays some shot. Like, what's that? What's that? What are you doing? What are you doing?
What you doing? What are you doing?
It's just the series, man. I guess it's just the series. And then so he looked sensational, Smith, as he always is at the Oval, I guess. But and then
the thing about Smith as well, like 2 balls before, he like ran down the wicket to Wokes and tried to bomb him, and it landed like just over Ben Stokes' head. And they ran 2, I think it was. Then the next shot, he tried to fucking hoik him. He played a hook shot off Wood as well earlier on. So like he made a decision that he's like, I'm going to start going here, even though the new ball was about 6 or 7 overs old at that point. It was a clear decision that he made. It's like, I'm going to start teeing off. I just don't understand where that came from.
Yeah, I mean, Cummins is batting well, so that's my thought was like, there can't be long left here. Yeah. Oh, so he was undermining Cummins once again, another person doing that. So very interesting.
White-anting him.
Yeah, he's white-anting him. That's exactly right. He's white-anting him with his unnecessary aggression. Kids don't like that. Now, in the meantime, after Smith's dismissal, then we're into the third thing, where the tail somehow wags for Australia, and not to be confused with Neil Wagner or the Wagner Group that took on Putin.
Yes, that's right.
Now,
or the multivitamin company.
Yep, or the composer Richard Wagner. Now,
a couple of options there.
Cummins bats superbly, so Cummins has stepped up for Australia in this game deluxe. He wants to carry it, and that makes me safe. The smooth skin, the eyes.
Take me home, Daddy.
Kind of yes, take me home, Daddy stuff from Cummins. Follow him, boys. Please follow. Someone follow him. And
someone follow him.
And Mad Dog Murphy did. 34 from 39. They put on 49 runs.
The Mad Dog.
Mad Dog, three Zacks. For the Mad Dog, looking good with the bat. Underrated.
Don't bowl there to Mad Dog.
Comment vis-a-vis Old Trafford. Mad Dog can lengthen the tail too. Don't you worry about that. It's good to see he can hold the stick. But that was a huge innings from Murphy. 34 coming in at 10 to help Australia achieve parity. And then, I mean parody is in that making a parody of some of the batting that came before. That was
of course, yeah,
and a parody of Bazball. That was enormous again for Australia. So, and in the meantime,
doesn't it make you
Joel
feel?
Wilson, it's just another shocker with Pat Cummins as well. But I don't know how's he getting the gig? This guy. Anyway.
I don't understand how he keeps hitting these big games.
Picks?
I don't get it.
Feet picks.
Yeah.
What is it?
Doesn't it make you feel good when you see an Australian with a green lid on, preferably the baggy green, playing on the back foot and swivel hooking, fast bowling for 6 to a short boundary at the dapple light of London?
Yep, that's
doesn't
nice,
that it makes you feel aroused?
Nice
yeah. And the haircut's fast. And Murphy. It's a very sick fade. It's a high fade. It's a sick fade. It's a slick fade. It made me feel fucking aroused. I felt really good about that until he got out.
Okay, hashtag AskTGC. He goes on to the Smith run-out, drama, fiasco, debacle, nonsense. Ben Connolly writes in, what's giving me crow's feet? He asks himself. Foreshortening of the lens, that is all. P.S. How can we put men on the moon but not conclusively prove whether a bale is aerial? Is it time for zing stumps in Test cricket? PPS, teach me how speak with women. So we're referencing the Smith run out.
What are we talking about?
It was in the 40s. Did you get a look at this?
42. He was on 42 at the time. Yeah.
Now, so for all intents and purposes, Smith turns for 2. He stumbles during his turn, as Ricky Ponting astutely points out. George Elam, son of Mark, picks up the ball at mid-wicket, flying in, bounce throw in. Looks like Bairstow's taken the bails and Smith short of his ground, immediately sparking memories of Gary Pratt, Ricky Ponting 2005, all that kind of symbiosis and fear and frustration, to the point where Smith starts walking off the ground, having seen the replay, looking short of his ground. But Nitin Menon, who I've always said is a very, very good umpire, Nitin Menon, I've always felt that he's always looking for that fine detail that you expect from an elite panel umpire, that perhaps some of the Luddites, like myself and the rest of us in the Oval crowd, don't really see. And he kept looking, and he found something. We're still not really quite sure what he found, whether it was Bairstow knocking the bail before before taking the ball, as Stuart Broad alluded to, or whether just the bail hadn't left its groove appropriately before the second one had. But whatever the case, he continued to run the experiment until Smith was in, and I was happy enough with that. And I actually again hand it to Stuart Broad here, who said after play, I think there was enough grey area to give it not out. It looked like benefit of the doubt stuff. Now, benefit of the doubt doesn't actually exist in cricket, other than when it's, through moralising and just shit people have said over a long period of time. But I'm happy to go with Stuart there in very bad face style. It looked like benefit of the doubt stuff to me.
100%. Pezza, to me, it seemed very much like if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. It was as clear as that. Just keep looking, keep looking until you find the thing that you want to see, that you need to see. Yep. Also, I like the question, generally speaking, like how come we can land a man on the moon, but we can't find ways to give this out? And I think that's basically just down to the space race, generally, just sort of funding. Obviously NASA was involved. Like America was in a space race with Russia, weren't they? About who could land a man on the moon first. Now, I don't know who's in the space race between maybe, maybe someone in the European Cricket League might be sort of pushing this agenda further down the path, in a race against the ECB, against the moral owners of cricket. And then we can get some real fine technology. Like who owns cricket? Who owns the stumps? Who owns the zing bails? And I think we all know the answer is, did someone say KFC?
And just another thought on top of that, he goes, is that no one's actually landed on the moon. That didn't happen. That happened.
I forgot about that.
That happened in a studio in Los Angeles.
Yes. I forgot about that, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go have lunch with Elvis now, but this is down to a straight shootout now. It's a straight shootout, the last ever Test series, the last ever Ashes series. This is all we're looking at. This is the last suckle, the last supper, the last suckle, the last ever Ashes. Can your team win the last game of the last ever Ashes? Fuck me.
Harmonising.